I'm Theron Ramacharaka. Hello. I've been asked to elaborate on something. So, without giving it any rehearsal, having written any script, or any such preparation, I'm going to do what I can. Get it done. I think I can handle it. This is a little bit too bright. Let me see if I can get something a little darker here on the screen. Wow. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Maybe that cuts down some of it. Yeah. I think we're balanced out here. Okay, I don't want to burn out your optic nerves. Right. I've been asked to elaborate on, let's see, how do I put this? Having to unlearn some things. I know a good way into this. An example was given to me about this, so I'll just pass it on to you. The bass player for the band Cream in the 60s and 70s, and then for Mountain, I believe. He was with Wesley, Bruce, and Lang at first, and then there was Cream. I think he played for Cream, and then with Mountain, the band called Mountain. Okay, Wes, Bruce, and Lang. Jack Bruce, the bass player, with Leslie West and Corky Lang. Wes, Bruce, and Lang. Yeah, Jack Bruce. Okay. I didn't know this before, but the person who brought this up to me just recently here informed me that when Jack first started to play the bass, he took formal music lessons. And then he saw that put him in a box. And he was just playing like everybody else. He had to unlearn that, he said, in order to be a better bass player. I played the bass. I never took formal lessons. Nobody showed me anything. I didn't want to play like everybody else. I didn't want to play like anybody else. So I didn't have to unlearn anything. But I understand what Jack Bruce means or meant. He was given it as an example because it's an example of the position that most people today find themselves in with respect to most life affairs. The socialization process that we go through in our civilized world conditions us in certain ways, and some of them are, some of them are good. Like we learn how to follow the laws. Whether we agree with them or not, whether we agree with law or not. We get ourselves in trouble if we don't obey laws. We have to learn what they are. We have to learn to behave accordingly. It's a way to keep order. There's a thing called a social contract. It's an unspoken thing in a culture or in a society. It's a social contract. You abide by the customs, the laws of our society, and then you can get the rewards of being in that society. Like not being in jail for one. You can have a bank account. You're allowed to drive. Be free from police harassment at home in large. You break the laws, you've broken the contract. Then you don't get the rewards. You follow the normal procedure through life. You build up some, you follow the laws, you follow the customs, and hopefully, you end up with a retirement package. And then you can, like if you need the services of a nursing home later, you've gone along with the way things work the way things are given to be done within the structure of of the society in which you live, then you got some rewards, hopefully. There's a contract, give and take. You follow the procedures, and you can benefit from having done so. You start breaking too many laws, you step outside too far, you're not going to get everything that might be available to you otherwise. Social contracts. So, socialization works beneficially. It's necessary in order to live in a society. You have to be socialized. Social. Okay. But our civilized world has its drawbacks. There's a lot of, unfortunately, look, there may be a misconception with some people. I'm aware of some people who believe that all things that have to do with socialization and civilization are bad. But that's not true. That's not true. No. It's what people do with the things that are available through technology, through advancement, through intellectual development, uses of science, uses of everything available. It doesn't have to be bad. But there are a lot of negative influences. There's a lot of manipulation. There's a lot of mind control. There's a lot of consciousness hijacking. There's a lot of perception control, mind control through perception deception. That's one of the things this channel is bringing this stuff to your awareness and how this stuff works. It's probably about 35%, maybe 30% of the content of my videos. The rest is how to circumvent it with your consciousness. That is the real target of it all, is your consciousness and your soul energy. That's the rest of this content, the content here. That's the real stuff. That's not a necessary. This consciousness hijacking and so forth, these are not necessary. These are not inherent to civilization and socialization, or as a friend of mine calls it, domestication. It doesn't have to be that way. This is these negative aspects. The way things are structured, the complexities of our civilization, yeah, they open the door for that. But listen, these negative influences are always there. Civilization or not, socialization or not, domestication or not, they were there. It's nothing new. But I was asked to elaborate on unlearning, like Jack Bruce had to do with his formal music education. Unlearn. It was suggested that I elaborate on the fact that people have to unlearn. Because many people have fallen into step without much thought, without much awareness. They've just swallowed hook, line, and sinker all the domestication, all the aspects of domestication, and it has made them very easily controlled. They have fallen prey to impulsive action, impulsive thinking, impulsive feeling. They have fallen prey to, mental illnesses galore. It makes the whole thing. It makes civilization look bad. It does. And for people to really advance and get control, regain control, conscious control, tame themselves down, learn when to stop, Learn when to reflect. Learn when to chill the hell out and take a look at what the hell they're involved in. Learn how to think straight again. That can take what appears to be, what was suggested to me, a lot of unlearning of the stuff that's got us all screwed up in the heads and has made us, or kept us ignorant, in a sense. So, here I'm elaborating on it. I'm broadcasting it to you. But I didn't say anything else, anything more than what my friend said so far. He asked me to elaborate. So, and now I have to say more because I want to elaborate. So, here's what comes to mind. The suggestion from my friend was put into terms that Jack Bruce used. I had to unlearn. So if I were to pass this on to you the way it was presented to me, with roots in what Jack Bruce said, I would be telling you that, maybe I can offer you some ways to unlearn. But I can't do that. Jack Bruce didn't do that either. It's just not the right term. It's not the right. The term unlearn can give the wrong idea about the procedure that I'm asked to elaborate on. That's not the right procedure. That's not what there really is to do in this direction of what we might loosely call unlearn. I want to tell you what is the right way to think about that. That'll be my elaboration. This is like, you want to get rid of a bad habit? It's similar, in a sense. Let me just start this again here. Right now, you may have heard this before. Don't think of a monkey. Okay? I mean, I'm telling you right now. Yeah. Ramacharaka. Looking at you, I'm giving you an instruction. I'm giving you a command, okay? Don't think of a monkey. In a similar way, that's pretty, impossible at the moment, because I said monkey, and I said think of. The only thing in there that had something to do with not doing that was the word don't. How can you not think of a monkey when somebody's telling you to think of a monkey? In a similar way, you can't just drop a bad habit. You can't just unlearn something you've learned. There are parallels here among these three things. The difficulty in not thinking of a monkey when somebody says, don't think of a monkey. Just getting rid of a bad habit. Or, unlearning something you've learned, and it is part of your culture. Here's another thing. About, the difference between society and culture, right? The society is a group of people. A culture is their customs, their mores, their ideals, their beliefs. A common set of behaviors and ideas that go along with being a member of that society. Then you're a part of the culture of that society. Okay. There comes a point in people's lives, and it's not very late into life either. It's pretty early in life, actually. You can move to another part of the world, but you cannot escape your culture. You can't get rid of it. That's a pretty hard thing to do. It'll take a lot of time. And what is it that really happens once that is done to any extent? You didn't get rid of your culture. You didn't unlearn it. You replaced it. How do you get something out of your mind? A thought that you don't want to think of. you think of something else. And that can take a lot of work sometimes. If you have a nagging thought, if you have a habitual thought, habits get very sticky pretty fast. So what if you have a really bad one and you've been engaged in it for a very long time, and it is entwined and it is integral with everything else that you do, think, feel. It's in there. You just drop it? No, you have to replace it. And it can take some work. But focusing on just getting rid of it, that's like trying not to think of a monkey. No. You want to not think of a monkey? Think of something different. You want to unlearn something? Learn something else. It takes directed attention. It takes repetition. It takes perseverance. It takes decision, continuous perseverance. And it takes a lot of restraint. On the other hand, to count everything else out, how do you count something out? You don't focus on it. You focus on something else. How do you direct your attention? Let's just go straight to that. How do you direct your attention to something? I'm sorry. How do you stop focusing your attention on something? You focus it on something else. If you are honing your attention on one thing and you get a distracting thought, how do you get rid of that distracting thought? You don't. Forget about it. Trying to get rid of that distracting thought is focusing on the distracting thought. You get rid of it. You want to learn it out of your head at the moment by redirecting back in on what you want to be focusing on. You keep honing back in, fine-tuning your focus. You get a distracting thought, you don't give it attention. You don't say, oh, how do I get rid of that? That's not how you do this. It doesn't work. You focus back in. This is like like this, so to speak, unlearning something. You don't want that. You can't get rid of it if it's something ingrained in you, if it's cultural, if it's learned, if it's been practiced, if it's become the way you do stuff. You learn to do something different, and you focus on that. And you use restraint with respect to the thing that you want to, so to speak, unlearn. But you don't unlearn it. I bet you Jack Bruce still knows the music theory he was taught. He didn't unlearn it. He learned something different. He supplanted or replaced his practice and his focus, mental focus, and his actions with something different. You can call it unlearn. That's okay, but just understand what the heck's really going on. Well, with respect to the situation here with the negative aspects of domestication, socialization, and culturalization, civilization, to get past its aspects, its potential aspects, and its open door to let in a lot of manipulation, mind control, energy theft, entrapment, enslavement, consciousness hijacking, and so forth. We must focus on what we want instead and how to get there. This can take some, whatever might be called unlearning, but no, really, it's adding to. It's adding to. In fact, it's very important to learn more about civilization, domestication, socialization, and culturalization. To learn more, to become more aware, to get a broader and deeper understanding of it. So you know what you're really dealing with. And then add on. Go from there. Develop new motives, new goals, a new understanding. Enrich. Become more. Don't dispose of, and don't think you're going to dispose of something that's there and isn't going to go away. Heck, you were brought up in this culture. You were brought up in this society. What you can do is grow. What you can do is develop. What you can do is unfold more. What you can do is become more. That's evolvement. That's personal evolution. It becoming more. That's what the universe does. It pushes toward being more than what it is. Slowly, some things die out because they're no longer used or usable, or they just didn't last. It takes time. It takes desire. It takes focus. It takes will. It takes motive. It takes earnestness. It takes good content. It takes understanding. And you're not going to undomesticate yourself. You have a social contract to live under. I was in the military. I still make sure that my belt buckle is lined up with the zipper, you know, and if I have a button shirt, the line of the buttons, you know, all in line. I still do that. I learned that in the military. They call that a gig line. From here, all the way down to the bottom of your zipper. Zipper fold, you know, the fold of material. And the belt buckle. I do that. I still do that. I didn't get rid of everything, and that was a long time ago. As you progress and become more, there will be things from domestication and civilization and socialization and culturalization that you might want to maintain. You really, in order to overcome consciousness hijacking and perception deception, you know, make steps in your personal involvement. Do you want to go back to being a caveman just to do that? Do you really want to do that? I mean, is that required? I'll give you a very, very germane and strong analogy in order to answer that question if you weren't sure what the answer was. Some people have a misconception that in order to get on a real spiritual path, the real thing, you have to go, you know, somewhere in the Himalayas, the Himalayan mountains, you know, and find a cave way up there, you know, and, sleep on a rock and meditate. And now and then have something to eat. You know, if you can forage. Otherwise, you know, you have to live this austere life. You have to become a sadhu. And that's the only real way to do it. You got to be a monk. But that's not true. No. You don't have to do that. No, you don't. And you don't have to go back to being, you know, living a clan lifestyle, you know, a hunter and gatherer, with a chief and a shaman, and your clan population never greater than 30. You don't have to do that. And learn to make fire by rubbing, two stones together to make a spark, and otherwise you're too domesticated. No, you don't have to do that. It's not very recommended, actually. Many good things have come from development. Lifespan wasn't very long back then. Did you know that just 200 years ago, the average lifespan of a human being was about 45? You hit 40, you're an old person. You're elderly. Make it past 50, you lived a long life. Earlier than that, it was even shorter. One reason was because we were living among, a lot of dangers. Oh, one could argue, oh yeah, but that makes a person tough. Well, yeah, sure. It makes you more hardy, right. But then, why weren't they living to be 70? People were getting eaten by wild animals. Is that the way you want to go? Really? Just to feel like you've unlearned domestication, human domestication? Come on. Work within the structure you're in. You can do that. It's allowed. It's legal. It won't hurt you. Just understand the structure you're in and what you're dealing with, what the obstacles are, and what your goals are, and how to get to them. And focus. I give you information about this environment that we're in, and I give you ways to do this. That's as much elaboration as I can come up with right now. So I'm Theron Ramacharaka. Be well.